should be starting about now. All right, so we're good. Yeah, so Romolemo, how are you doing? I don't know if
Good
Cole
good
is having an issue
morning.
with his
I'm
mic.
good, thanks, and you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. So glad to have you guys. Please feel free. What I would advise you is to be an to unmute yourself unless you have maybe noise in the background, so then you can come in and out whenever necessary, right? But again, just to congratulate the entire pod. You did quite fantastic. I was very impressed by the work that you guys have been able to submit. I just want to I just want to for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, it's not a lot, just to touch on maybe a few key important items. The first one I can think of really is the fact that please don't take your first part one, your first submission as basically the ideal. So I wouldn't want you to do that because remember that the whole idea here is that it's a work in progress, right? You're going to improve on your first submission. So you might have had a very good mark in your first submission, but I wouldn't want you to feel like that's it. So you're on the right path and there's nothing that you should add to it. Everything is just gonna flow. And so I just want to caution each one of you. So I would even say, like I say most quite often, is that it would be better to have a low mark for your first submission and then you continue on improving than have a high mark in your first submission and just get the feeling like that everything you're doing is right and then end up at the end of the semester failing the module or really barely passing. So you see that would be quite a disappointment, and I wouldn't want you to experience something like that. The reason why I'm sharing this is just to caution you. uh, it would be better not to have even a mark or not even do well, but you do understand what you need to do, and I can see that from part two you start to improve considerably, right, on the work. That would be much better, you see, because your first submission, we're just getting a feel of the ideas that you have, and we can see that you really have done some work, and you're going in the right direction, and we are rewarding that. We don't also want to be the kind of people who just don't want to reward what you're doing. So sometimes when you are definitely reading, you can see a student has done they've done their homework, and we are rewarding that. So yeah, so that will be a very, very important element. So if you are catching up on the recording, please bear that in mind to say, listen, I'm expected to improve considerably. So what you've started with will not be close, even close to what you're going to end up with, because there will be a massive improvement. You see, right now you just have a block of, I don't know, a stone that you need to properly tailor. There's a lot of things that you need to remove and refine and etc. All right. So I trust that this is clear. Just give me a thumb up if this is clear, so that we can move on to what we're going to do today. All right, guys. Thank you so much. But in general, I have to say I'm quite impressed, because I could feel, and this is what I was sharing in our first session, is that if you have to be even one or two steps ahead, that very, very important, I can assure you. That's my little salt that I can bring, my 2 cents advice is that it takes much consideration, and you can see a student who is thinking over their project, right? You're not just letting the project happen, right, to you, not just saying, okay, well, I need to submit and all that, and so I need to put something there. All right, I need to go to Chat GPT and get something, right? um, Guys, this is an exciting time to do research. It is an exciting time because we have acknowledged that you could make use of AI, but you need to properly acknowledge it. So there shouldn't be a problem for you to think and to test that, in any way, shapes, or form. And that's what I say. AI is a tool. It's a neutral tool. And by the way, all my students, I encourage one thing is that this is such an exciting time where AI can be your personal tutor. We've never had this time. We've never, ever had this time ever before. So I am encouraging you, if you are know how to use the tool, not to do the work for you, but has something, there's a term that I've forgotten, but in the world of IT, it's called, I think, the rubber duck. It's like use the AI as your body, as your body that you can, throw ideas to and see, how it's shaping and all that. But be very, very cautious, because you can't take the work from AI and submit that work as it is, because it's going to be a catastrophe. And you must always remember that those tools are highly inaccurate. But it is an exciting time. And I hope you understand, you hear my heart here. And so maybe you might not have the supervisor in the traditional way, because we are not doing that in the format that we have it here. We have the pod supervision type this semester. So I'm not going to be reviewing your work individually at any time, where you can just email me your work and then I review it. But we have even better than that. Like I said, if you understand the concept, you understand how better it is that you have really all your colleagues, and it's the entire pod. You can throw ideas at the pod and hear what they think about it. This week specifically, so I'm finishing with this week specifically, we're going to do that. So from today until you submit on the 28th. And again, apologies that I think it's another group that is submitting on the 4th of September. So I might have mixed up the dates, but thank you so much for one of your colleagues, putting that back on track. So you are submitting this week, I believe, right? So guys, just throw these ideas, your problem statement in the chat, and let your colleagues, your peers, your pods, react to it. And I would advise that at least you may comment on one problem statement of your colleague, at least one. Make at least one comment. You can make more comments than you can comment all you want, but I wouldn't want somebody who is there in the group and who is not commenting, right? So I trust all of you are part of our WhatsApp group, by the way. Uh, if you are not yet in our WhatsApp group, please join. Always good to have that interaction on the side, right? So, guys, that's all I wanted to cover just before we start. But again, the microphone will be or the spotlight will be really on you, and you know how it goes. So, but welcome back, folks. So it is. I can see that we are about 5, so that's a very good number. So, but great to have you back. Um, We're going to do our part 2, and the submission date. We're going to touch on the golden thread, and I want just this principle, and that's what we're going to cover. Please, at any time, feel free, when I give you the floor, to start with your problem statement, discuss the problem statement. If you're not doing that, you're not getting an opportunity for me and your colleagues to react. So it's not benefiting you. So if you keep quiet, that's up on you. That's really up to you, right? So, but we wanna really touch on that golden thread, right? So we want to ensure that your problem statement, your research questions, and your methodology are perfectly lined up, perfectly woven together. Remember that connecting rather than correcting rule. Remember that, right? So I'm going to do very little talking. I'll be asking questions, and I expect you as the pods to help refine each other's work, right? So I trust that that's clear. Yes, Homolemo.
Okay, I think I just want to ask before you continue into the subject matter that is it possible, because I'm gonna have to jump off at 1/2 past due to another meeting at
Yes.
work. Is it
Yeah.
possible that we can reschedule, because I know all of them you schedule them for 10 our pod sessions. Either we do it 8 in the morning or rather after hours, because it's become it's a bit tricky for me to
Yeah.
join during working hours because of work commitment and meetings
Well,
that will be clashing with it.
indeed, indeed. But what I'm going to do again, thank you so much, Komolemo, for that. And really, remember when I submitted the days, everybody voted, but you are correct. We can also check the hours. So what I'm going to do next time is, again, remember, we are very democratic in our pods. So I'm going to submit also maybe the time slot to everyone so that I can hear from all of you what time is best, right? But again, remember, with our online or distance mode of delivery, you have the recording. But I do agree with what Hormolemo is saying. It would be better for all of us to join. I see one of us is really trying to join, having an issue maybe with the connection or something like that. But all right. So, like I was saying, let me just look at specific drafts that you have. Do you want, is anybody in the group here can tell us if what would happen if our research questions or a research question does not directly connect with the problem statement? What would be the risk to your final project? Have you pondered on that? So feel free. So the question again, let me repeat the question again. You just tell us what you think would happen if the research question does not really connect with the problem statement. And obviously, and I'm really minding my words, what would be the risk to your final project?
Hi, Patrick.
Yeah,
I think the risk could be you would have difficulty collecting data, and also the type of questions that you want to put out. I think it will be a bit of a challenge.
absolutely. I like it. I'm loving that. And guys, feel free again. Waiting for all of you. Open floor. What other thing? Nilashan is really on the money there.
Yes, I think it's the same as well because then you won't be able to get your research material properly. Because if you can't answer that question, then what are you going to be doing in the rest of the project?
Indeed, indeed, indeed. All right, guys, any last thing that you can think of? So great contribution there. We are of the same mind. So you want to avoid, irrelevant study elements, you see, because always think about your methodology. So every element of your methodology, just like Nilation said, or data collection, because when you're looking at the methodology, it's closely linked with your data collection, right? They must connect back to answering your research questions. And if they don't align, then they shouldn't, the research question should not be part of your study. Because you are thinking, and you know what I kept on emphasizing last time and repeating, think about data, think about data. You got even tired of that, but there was a reason why I was saying that, because I don't want you to be frustrated. Because yes, one of the consequences could be lower grades. You might not do well. Yeah, because there's no golden thread there. And that's why we talk about that golden thread. It's not just something I'm making it up, but it's really tradition in research, right? So a misaligned problem statement will negatively impact your final marks, but also delays in your data collection, you see. It could delay your data collection, you see. And by the way, remember that there is a committee that will review your work, and we will touch on that on our last slide because I need to present on your behalf. We will touch on that. But you don't want that back and forth all the time with the committee where they say, no, you need to revise your questions. And by the time you're revising your questions, the delay is piling up, and then your data collection is rushed. That would be really a big issue, right? So think about how you're going to propose and your project to the ethics committee, and I will be doing that on your behalf, right? So this is worth really properly thinking. Just let's go to the next slide. Yeah. All right. So your problem statement is the entire foundation of your study, as you can accurately think. If there is not a problem, right? If you do not have a problem, there is no research. Yes, I know we talk about all this problem, but I just want you to understand how these things link together and we are in agreement so that we can practice together, right? So if you don't have a problem, what are you busy doing? You need really to identify that there is a problem somewhere, and that's the reason for the research. And it's the problem statement. The problem statement needs to be clear. Yes, that's one thing, but also evidence-based. The reason why you look into the literature like you've done, like you've attempted to do in your first submission, is that it needs to be evidence-based. It's not something you are making up. And it also needs to be linked or localized to a context. It really needs to be context specific, and you need to understand that part, especially when we touch on what the gap is and all that. Very important. Okay, so that's enough for me. Let's just do some practice. Who is brave enough to share their working problem statement with the group? You can all share, but whoever feels like he's ready first, you've done some homework, please feel free. This is, again, like I said, the the opportunity for you to share with all of us. Any brave. Guys, like I said, when we finish this session, you would have missed your opportunity to get some feedback. You need that feedback, right? Especially if you've been proactive and if you've written something down. This is your opportunity again to share with the entire class, uh, allow us to digest together and provide you some feedback. Or have you forgotten what you've written already? What your problem statement is? I don't think so. I think you know very, very, very clearly what you have as a problem statement. But I just want, especially on the problem statement, we are doing direct practice here. On the problem statement, could you just share with us? Yes. Nilation.
Hi, Patrick. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, let me take a chance.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just briefly explain what the topic is?
Yeah. If that will give you more confidence, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I actually work for the South African National Blood Transfusion Service, and my topic is digital marketing in blood donor recruitment. So the organization's key focus is to recruit voluntary non-remunerated blood donors by ensuring that sufficient blood is collected to cater for patients in need. I would like to examine the impact of digital marketing on blood donor recruitment and retention in South Africa, um, and examine social media, email, digital campaigns, and investigate which digital channels recruit the most number of blood donors. So my problem statement is the South African National Blood Service has a critical responsibility to maintain an adequate and sustainable blood supply to meet the needs of patients in South Africa. This requires continuous recruitment of new voluntary blood donors, as well as retention of existing donors who donate regularly. However, recruiting and retaining sufficient blood donors remains a significant challenge, particularly as donor behavior, communication preference, and media consumptions continue to change in an increasingly digital environment. So, the specific problem addressed by the study is that it's not sufficiently established which digital marketing channels are most effective in converting potential donors into first time donors, and which channels are most effective in encouraging existing donors to make repeat donations. I don't know
Nilation,
if that was clear.
you have put a lot of water in front of us, and I'm loving this. I'm really, really loving this. It is clear for me, but I want to give the chance to the group also to weigh in. Obviously, as a work in progress, you can always again refine it so that the statement may not be too long, right? Because it might sound like there is a couple of issues there, but clearly this like I said, for better word, is like this really excites. By just hearing how you're presenting this is very, very exciting, and well done really on that.
All right,
And
thank
guys,
you.
again, remember what I said. The reward there is that you took the time to think. That's where the reward is. So I don't think any one of you should be ashamed to share. But I want to get again from you guys who are here. What do you think about what Lilation has shared? Because we listened carefully to the problem statement. It sounded to me clear, although toward the end, I might not have properly listened if I was going into there is maybe a dual problem there, annihilation, or if it's just the fact that the most vital thing would be the recruitment. Would that be if you were to say one word for the problem, And again, this is the practice. This is the exercise we're doing. If you were to say one word or two, or let me say maximum three, what would you say is the main problem that is going on there?
I think the main problem is with all the digital channels that we currently have in place,
Yeah.
there's no way of measuring which one is the most effective. Whether it's the email communication or the WhatsApp messages or the donor app messages. So the issue is
So
measuring,
digital recruitment.
yeah, digital recruitment.
Oh, do you see that? Guys, I want you, because, and especially when we are presenting to a committee, right? So it's so many people, but we want to nail down something, what is it exactly, you see? So yes, I know when you are thinking, you are putting things together, you have multiple statements, that really cover what you're about to do, but always narrow it down to two or three words that you can clearly say, no, this is my problem. It's our how we recruiting digitally, or digital recruitment for blood donors, right? So nail it that way, that this is the central key issue here. And obviously you can work around it as well, to properly phrase it in few sentences. But is this clear, guys? Is the pod, are you satisfied with this? Is this a good practice? Anyone else would like to be brave? I'm calling on the braves. You've been thinking, and by the way, you saw my feedback, especially to those who are still, they have a bit more to do, because I was quite clear, very detailed in the feedback I was giving you, especially if I felt like, there was too many, it was too broad. Remember the funnel, the funnel. We touched on that last week. Remember, I'm just sharing principles with you to make it easy for you, because I wouldn't want you to be in a position where you are getting frustrated with research, which will not benefit all of us, right? Because we're going to miss out on somebody doing good research because you are just frustrated. It's not clear what you need to do. And that's why I told you, from my own journey, I just tried to make it clear to all of you on very few principles that you need to apply that will make it so easy for you to do research, right? So remember that funnel. Sometimes we are too broad, but we just want to narrow it down, huh? And narrow it down and nail it. All right. So, guys, I've given you plenty of time. Anybody else? Any brave? All right. So Nilation was really a blessing today. So now that we've covered something like that, right? So we can see what exactly, or the specific issue, is being investigated here. And the parts where I would try to say, okay, wait a minute. Is Nilation touching on too many things here? Is because what am I doing? The only thing I'm doing is I'm avoiding the thing to be too broad. And that's the reason why I reminded you with the funnel principle, right? Is that we just want to narrow it down, but with Nilation we can nail it. We can see, okay, awesome, Romelemo, catch up. All right, so we can see, okay, this is the problem, and this is what Nilation is trying to solve. Remember, no research if there is no problem. Now, hard evidence that this is a problem and not just an assumption. Coming back to you, class. Elation, Colade, is there evidence of this? For sure, it seems like there is evidence, but I just want us to clarify. This is also something that you always need to ask yourself. Is this my own assumptions? Or or it's factual evidence that there is a problem here. This is known. You see sometimes, especially within the context or the fields you are in, this is well known to be a problem. Like people are like, this is no mystery. This is not a secret, right? Nilation, would you say that this is well known that we have this issue?
Yeah, it is known that we have this issue. We just need to measure it and
That's right.
identify, yeah, how we can collate that information and put it forward to better the organization.
Absolutely. And I like that. And so, guys, again, this is a reminder to say always ask yourself. It might sound like it's redundant and not really useful, but it is useful because when you're asking yourself the question of saying, is there evidence of this? Is this factual? Or is this just an assumption that I'm making? I'm assuming that there could be a problem. You see, it's always good so that you know how to ground really what you are doing, especially when you are looking at also at the literature, right? So, but now let's look. So we have covered the clarification. We've listened carefully. We look at the specific issue that is being investigated, and we're trying to avoid that issue to be too broad. And then we looked at the evidence. We can see that, this is a real problem and it is a well-known factual problem, right? Now let's look at the implications. Why that this problem matter to this specific industry? Why does it matter? And what happens if it is not solved? This could just flow, right? Nilation, this would just flow, right? So if we are not solving this problem, what are some of the implications?
I think, Patrick, some of the implications could be it'll just remain stagnant
That's
and
right.
continue the way things are going forward. But
That's right.
maybe if you enforce the study, you could measure where there's issues and you can improve on it.
And to be honest with you, Nilation, by just listening at the problem for me, and especially when you're talking about blood, I mean, the consequences could be, I mean, for me, it's simply flowing. I might be wrong, but I'm saying, hey, man, this is about lives. The more we have donors, the more we saving lives, especially for people who need blood transfusion, right? We have, and that's probably a life-saving issue. But I'm even going further to say that this if this is not solved, it could lead to the fact that we lacking enough blood, and it could have really uh, devastating consequences, right? So I'm just pushing it. You might say, no, Patrick, no, not like that. But I'm saying you can see now when you stop to talk about these things, it becomes natural. It flows easily as to what really would be the consequences if this is not solved. And thus, guys, it's just to ground. We are just trying to ground this to say there's a need to do this research. Because, by the way, would that make, listen, the points I'm making here are just logical points. They're just logical points so that you can understand why your research is important and why is it relevant, right?
100%.
100%. So one thing I'm surprised is that, guys, you voted for today, but I'm seeing many people have left us already. Obviously, they will catch up with the recording, but plus
I
you
think
voted
it's
for
work
today.
commitments with most people.
Yeah. So we could have, I think time, like Romolemo said, we need to look at the
Mm,
time. I would be open at any time, really, on a day like this.
mm,
But yeah, but I would have loved that this would have was discussed in our chat room, in
mm.
our WhatsApp group there, where people could have
Yeah.
said, yeah, we are okay with the day, but it's just the time. It might be tight.
Yeah.
All right. So, but let's
Maybe,
move
maybe
and
I don't know
yeah.
whether people might prefer an evening option, to meet. Like when we do in our classes, maybe that might be easier for
Perfect.
most people.
No, that would work perfectly with me.
Okay.
Obviously, post-grad, I wouldn't know how really to make the difference between post-grad and
Mm,
undergrad. You guys are post-grad, so I would have assumed that, maybe you can just take an hour here and
mm,
there, but I definitely agree with you. And guys, if you're listening to this recording, please bring up these things in the chat to say we are okay with the time, sorry, with the day, but just the time. Maybe put it in the evening. I will avail myself. Really, I would really avail myself. But we would do our best. Elation is here. We will do our best, in fact, to cover for you what really is important. You're not missing out anything. And you would do this exercise as you go through this recording. Do the same exercise as applied to your own research. Right. So let's move on to the next. It's a big question that many of you always have. I'm hearing quite often about this question. Is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? And I was also pleasantly surprised that, when some of you were covering your own paradigm, your own philosophical paradigm, you were talking about interpretivism, positivism. That was quite interesting to see that, some of you already were wrestling with these ideas, right? And that's a good thing. So now that we have a problem, we need to ask the questions that will solve it. So your paradigm, by the way, your paradigm, like I said, and I'm repeating, dictates those questions that you'll be asking. Because two people with two different paradigms will not ask the same questions. And that's the excitement about research, is that you might be looking at something from one angle. Nilation is looking at it from one angle. I'm looking at it from another angle. And that's the beauty of research. There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, it is research. You could be actually touching on the same topic, but you are addressing the problems very differently, right? So maybe a question. So if one of us is using interpretivism as a paradigm to understand employee resistance to digital transformation. This is just one of your paper, and I just want to remember what you guys were writing and all that. So employees maybe are resisting to digital transformation. What kind of questions should they be asking? And maybe also maybe just to say, okay, if maybe you are here and you are looking maybe at positivism or the positivist paradigm, why must you include hypothesis, testable hypothesis, when you're trying to test an hypothesis? So, for example, with what we heard from Nilation, you could actually try it from different angle. You could try even a positivist paradigm to see, can I hypothesize that it's really a problem or it's not a problem? You see, it's just a testable. You want to test. So your research, in your questions, you will be testing if indeed it is a problem or it is not. So I hope you guys get it, right? So um, read again your primary question. So let me ask, Nilation, do you have any questions that you put down?
yes, Patrick.
All right. Okay. So this is exciting. Nilation, feel free. Let's maybe go through one or two questions, depending on how many you have there. But some of
Okay.
the questions that you asked yourself, and we're gonna see if these can solve the problem. that you just stated?
Right, just give me a minute.
Take your time.
Okay, so the first question I had was, how does social media marketing influence the recruitment of new blood donors in South Africa?
Sorry, repeat that again, uh, just in case anybody is not hearing properly in the recording.
Okay, how does social media marketing influence the recruitment of new blood donors in South Africa?
Interesting. How? And you can see from what we have there on our slide, when you have exploratory questions like how and why, you can see how closely it is linked to a qualitative, right? Interpretivism paradigm. Not to say that it is exactly that, but I just want people who are seeing, as you can see on the screen there, you can see that you are trying to find how. And so it's going to touch more at the lived experience or meaning. And when you now write down actually all your questions that for your survey or etc., is it going to be open-ended? Is it going to be exploratory questions? That's very interesting. But can we now go to your second question?
Second question, how how effective are digital campaigns in converting potential blood donors into first-time donors?
Hmm. So who, and this is interesting, how? And so I'm asking you, Nilation, who do you have in mind to give you this information?
So to get this information is what we basically have to do um, is look at our current channels that we are using and
Yeah.
yeah, look at the data from there. But maybe what we can do is to get questions from regular donors to see how they started the process, and they can give feedback on it as to which channels
Oh,
attracted them to become blood donors.
but you see that. So you might be just in the middle. You
Hmm.
might be in the middle there of quantitative and qualitative. Either you're going to go to people, or is there some information already that is there,
Hmm.
some on in your database. You do have already some information, and what you're just going to do is to test the relationship of one variable with another variable. Is like, okay, we have already collected this data. We can see how is it. Repeat again the first question. Was it how? Is
How
it
does social media marketing influence the recruitment of new blood donors in South Africa?
so now if you have data on that, if there is any data on how
Yeah,
social media works,
yeah,
you can see that you need to take a quantitative, because you can analyze, right?
okay.
To see, okay, this is what is already collected. Because now when you go to blood donors themselves,
Mhm,
you gotta be careful with the question. So it's
mhm.
good that you have questions, and guys, as you are listening to this is so important, and that's the reason why when we look carefully at the questions, we can even adjust the question, we can even tweak the question, we can adapt the question, we can make the question sharper. It does not matter. But if you realize, wait a minute, and that's why I'm saying, think about the data. What is exactly the data that you're going to collect that is going to help you answer your problem? So very, very important, because from what I'm seeing from the field, obviously I haven't read Nilation, but from what he has exposed to us, I'm sitting there in the middle and I'm like, wow, he could go quantitative, he could go qualitative. It does not matter. It has to do with what he really would like to achieve. And that's the part where we're saying to you, You own this research. And the bad experience comes when somebody imposes on you something. You see, when you want your supervisor to tell you, no, 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 do this, do this, then it becomes the supervisor who's conducting the research. You are not conducting the research. But if we trying to push you to say, no, 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 take this, it is your research. And by the way, your input, your research is valuable because you are answering a question. And it's not to say that all answers will change the world tomorrow. That's not the point. That's not the point. Remember that science evolves step by step, right? Or tiny bit by tiny bit. You see, you can open for us a certain understanding. Others will open another understanding. So it's like a puzzle we're putting together, right? So you're not from your research going to cover everything that is to be known. That's a mistake that some students do because you are too broad. You are too broad. Where are you going? What are you trying to do? Always ask yourself this question. But this is amazing, Relation. How do you feel about this? This is great, right?
Yeah, it is definitely great. It's also the field that I'm working in, so I'm in the marketing field.
Yes.
So it's very relevant, and I think it makes getting the information more easily, and also it's accessible.
And you guys are really at the forefront. Some of you, some of the marketing people I've seen, they are very number oriented. It's like economists and marketers, incredibly number oriented. So try to look deeper into that, Nilation, to see what
Yes.
exactly am I going to think. Like I said again, Nilation, even from our last, think about the data. Think about the data, because when you're thinking about the data and the people who are going to give you, you will get your answer. If your data is already available, why would you want to go and look for it while it is already available? You're saving yourself time, because
Yeah.
it could be numeric data that you already have, because they have done already prior research, and maybe there's some data lying there that you can just work on and analyze. Or if you have to collect data, remember again, just to make sure that it's all about saving time. And if you have to collect, you need to know who exactly you're going to go to and who's going to give you. You should have access, which is basically what we're going to do in our next slide, guys. If you just give me a second, this is our next slide. Remember, we talked about this. We were covering the data collection, and we were talking about what I'm gonna call the golden numbers, right? So if it's quantitative, a maximum of participant, you can still collect. It doesn't mean that uh, I hope I'm not misunderstood to say that if it's numbers, they must already be there. No, no, no. You can still collect if you are really trying to do a quantitative work. Remember, we're just asking you 10 participants, which is nothing. So yes, Nilation, you can still look at 10 participants, 10 donors, and maybe ask them questions, but always remember those questions need to relate to the problem that you are trying to solve. And if it might sound that the problem is getting a little bit away, it's becoming too broad, narrow it down, so that you are telling me, Patrick, I just want to talk to these people so that they answer something that I want to know.
Okay.
You make
Also,
things easy for you. Yeah.
sorry, Patrick, if you don't mind, um, could could we realign the question more, maybe to get the donor's perspective rather? Maybe the
For sure.
current channels that we are using is not
Yes.
relevant to what's out there, and maybe a donor prefers some other channel that could get across to them, maybe more youth orientated ones, in a more effective way.
Absolutely. I was just trying to hold myself, but delation, absolutely. And that's how you change quickly, because you can see that, okay, maybe the fact that we are struggling with donations is we need maybe to get the perspective of the donors. Do you see how you're going? So
Mm,
maybe I would like to hear, maybe because we rely on them, obviously. And why is digital marketing not really helping them? It should be helping them. Surely, you see how you start to reason with these things, right? So,
mm,
so, and that's what, guys, I'm saying again, push talk to yourself, talk to your group, but you are in that conversation. And I'm saying anybody who's going to fail the module has failed to take time to think. And that's not a good thing if you are a postgrad student. But yes, I agree 100% with Nilation, and I'm excited with this because you can say, okay, well, wait a minute. The people that need to give us the blood, there are the people that we are struggling to recruit, right? So let's get their perspective so that we can know what is working for them and it's not working for them. Sorry about that, guys, but that's the excitement of research. But let me so all about what I just said. Let's talk about reality versus feasibility, or reality and feasibility. You have a few months, and that's the reason why we're giving you, we're not overwhelming you. We're not saying go and look at 30 participants, no, 8 for qualitative, 8 people. We've reduced it. You can see 3 participants for qualitative max, and then so you can decide. You can say, okay, but I want a more quantitative somehow, or I want a more qualitative somehow. You need to make up your mind on that, right? So, but because you have a few months to finish this research, you are doing primary data collection, and we have strict standardized boundaries to protect you. So a maximum of 3 participants for qualitative and 10 for quantitative, right? So why do you think the university enforces these strict limits? And another question will be, let's say you as the researcher want to survey, for example, because I saw this, I had to bring this, the entire banking sector in Gauteng. Okay, you write that to me, that you are looking at the banking sector in Gauteng. And I'm trying to see, where is the funnel? What do you mean? Are you going to survey the entire banking sector in Gauteng? But how would you advise somebody who tells you that, I'm going to survey the entire, how is that going to fit in 10 participant limit and still remain academically rigorous? Because you are talking about the entire banking sector in Gauteng. So that's my question. My question is that, first of all, why is the university enforcing this limit? Elation, any idea?
Sorry, Patrick, just come again on that question.
Why is the university enforcing the limit of 3 and 10 participants?
I think um, I think because of quantitative, maybe more information is available in terms of the data, quantitative data, the numerics are there. But to add qualitative, maybe getting the perspective of people just to collaborate it and see where the difference lies. I don't know
Indeed,
if that
indeed,
makes
indeed.
sense.
Not bad at all. So always remember, access must be guaranteed, not assumed. And you do have not the you don't have the luxury of all the time of the world. But remember, okay, so I'm just going to summarize a few things here. Access must be guaranteed. If you do not have guaranteed access to 3 or 10 people in your chosen sector today, you need to pivot to secondary desktop research immediately. I don't have access, and it's not a shame. Like for me, the research that I just completed for the other masters that I was doing in data science, it was desktop research. So there's nothing wrong with that because I couldn't guarantee access. Couldn't guarantee access, right? So I wouldn't take the risk to even think about it. But I'm just trying to help you so that you are straight in your thinking. You don't waste time. So if you have somebody who's telling you, I'm going to look at the entire banking sector in Gauteng, here's how you're going to advise him. Narrow down to a single institution or department, which I gave you last week. Not last week, so in our last meeting. the researcher needs to be advised to limit their scope. Sometimes limiting your scope, you can have a big problem, limit the scope. And maybe only to a specific role or to a specific department or to a single accessible bank rather than attempting to survey the entire sector. I spoke about this, I'm repeating it, and I trust that we understand. Because some of you have to narrow that funnel. Secured guarantee access, especially when you're surveying multiple corporate banks. That's massive undertaking. I don't think you would have the time. And plus, you must always remember what I repeated to you last time. They are gatekeepers. It might sound like you will get access, but then you just find out that no, some people don't want you to do that, don't want you to ask questions. And then you find yourself in serious problems. So make sure you know you're not just assuming that you have access, but you have guaranteed access. So pick a specific location where access to the participant is guaranteed. And the last thing, maybe advice I can give you is when you do that, when you are refining those things, refine also your working title. You can transition your topic to reflect the focus scope. And that's what I told you, that it is a work in process. So don't just be happy, oh, I had an amazing mark, in the first submission. Like I said to you, it must be a work in process. Single department, single variable. For example, customer service or donors. That's good because you are narrowing. Okay? So I trust that is crystal clear, guys. I had to do that because I'm just giving feedback on what I read from you guys. Now, remember, so look at feasibility, huh? Be realistic, please. Be realistic. But okay, let's talk about your submission. This is critical because it includes ethical clearance documentation, which is non-negotiable. So I want to touch on that. So you will submit part 2. Then I go before the ethical clearance committee, and I will be presenting your project on your behalf using a specific template. You know the template. I'm not the lecturer of the module. Many things you already covered. They have already provided some of the things to you. Just use them, But needless to say, I will fight for your project, right? But the committee may request corrections. That's up to them. So a good question. Let me submit to you a good question. Why, for example, would the ethical clearance required before you speak to a single participant? What are we protecting? This is important. This was just to make you understand why that step is important. Not just, again, sometimes when we are students, we're like, okay, yeah, I just need to submit. But why do you think that that's important? Before you even start. Because what I wouldn't want you to do, because some people have done it before, is while you are submitting already this thing for ethical clearance, you run already and you're starting to do things. Because in your head, I need to save time. It's a good idea, but it's not applied properly. Okay, I would just say your research could be invalidated. So that's why you cannot collect a single data point until the letter is in your hand. So because that's the guideline, right? It states that you cannot begin collecting data before your proposal has gone through the committee. And the ethical clearance process is fully complete. You are only permitted to go out and collect data after you have been cleared and your clearance certificate has been officially issued to you. So please bear this in mind. Ethical clearance is required to ensure that your proposals, every data collection methods that you've put out there, consent forms, are ethically sound before we proceed, right? Before you proceed interacting with the participant. So this was quite a useful one. And I just wanted to cover this. And I'm sure that you heard already about this, but I'm just making clear because why am I doing this? Is because I will be representing you. All right. Just that clear. And the last thing, will be our last slide. And it's our way of wrapping up whatever we've covered. So I hope, Elation, you are agreeing with what is in front of you. There is the possibility, it's not too late to refine, to improve. And don't feel like, you see, some students feel like they want to protect the initial score they got for part one. And that's the reason why I spoke again very clearly about this. Forget about what you got in part one. Because you can start well and not finish well. I'm not saying that will be your case, but I'm saying, look, you have time to improve, to refine, and etc. and etc. Right, guys? You have time. So it's not about trying to protect that mark. No, you're not going to protect it. By the way, there's no way you're going to protect. You've done an incredible work. And remember horizontal learning. You need to be able to find people that critique what you are doing so that you guys are strengthening each other's research. That's exactly what the pod model is all about, right? So your action item for August 28th is you finalize your POE part 2, pay special attention to the golden threads that we've covered here, and your ethics document. So I strongly encourage you to drop your drafted problem statements, all of you. That will be proof that you listen to this recording, right? All your problem statement and research question, put it in our WhatsApp group this week, starting from today. I have to emphasize that. And I would say everybody needs to at least review one peer's problem statement in the group chat before Friday so that we encourage each other, right? Remember, we move together as a pack, as a wolf pack. All right. Okay. So let me finalize with this. Part 2, an extra Q. You know what I mean by an extra Q, ethical clearance application. Drop submit also separately. So part 2 separately from an extra Q, and then ethical clearance PowerPoint presentation. I would love that because since I'm going to be presenting, please make it. The reason why I'm using PowerPoint from the very beginning, are you now getting it? It is so that you can present things simply. And obviously, since I will be representing you, I would like things to be simple and not complicated, where I don't know even how to represent you. I don't want to misrepresent you. I want to represent you accurately. So you can also add any applicable annexures, supporting document, but that's depend on your research. So all necessary annexures, template you've made available. And that has been made available to you. You can use them, right? So Elation, anything? Any questions? Is this clear? Does this give you confidence? Are you looking forward to doing this?
Hi, Patrick. No, no, it's very clear. And I'm so glad that you called this session. Thank you very much. Patrick,
Yeah.
I wanted to check, with regards to the ethics documentation, is there a part, let's say you, like, for example, I'm using the organization as part of my topic. Do I need to get permission from them? Is there a document for that?
So I would say check a little bit the ethical clearance application. So your annexure Q, huh?
Okay,
It's you definitely should have it. Check if that is necessarily required.
I see. All right.
Yeah, but that part, the reason why I left that to the lecturer as well as uh, to our main leader with regards to research is because of the fact that they told me, I don't know if they have already covered that. These things have already been covered with you guys, so you should be aware. But if you have any questions, please forward that to them just to clarify. But yeah, as far as I'm
Noted.
concerned, I know it's just these few items that need to be submitted, and I will use them. I will represent you guys, but the reason even for emphasizing this is just to make sure that you guys are gonna really present something that is clear. Don't overcomplicate it. Let it just be clear that if anybody is looking at it, they're like, wow, this we won't waste time, because what I don't want is the back and forth where the committee says no, this is not clear enough, tell the students to do this, to do that, and then I come back to you. You see, then it's gonna waste your time. It's gonna frustrate you. You're gonna hate research, and obviously, guys, we want to avoid that, right? So please hear my heart on this because I'm presenting on your behalf, and that's so. So please allow me to have the right to emphasize this so that you guys come all right, no time was wasted, and you can finalize actually your data collection, and we can move on quickly to the analysis of that data collection. All
Okay.
right, Nileshan,
Thank
thank you
you,
so
Patrick.
much
Thank you so
for
much.
showing up. I can't thank you enough, but let's keep in touch. Remember, you're not walking alone. I'm a Liverpool fan, so
All right.
uh, yeah. So we together. Please take time also to submit in our group. But yeah, all should be all right. I'm just gonna stop the recording here. It's a long recording enough, but yeah, again, Nileshan, let's keep in touch.